Studio. Let's see what they both make now of the Liberal Democrats. As you know, they're meeting in Glasgow for their annual conference, and our political editor John Hess has caught up with some East Midlands members of the party.
Well, Mari, in a speech to the Liberal Democrats last night that's been pretty well reported this morning, Nick Clegg couldn't have been more blunt. He said that come next May's election, make no mistake, he said, this is a fight for our lives. Well, Jason Zadrozny and Lucy Kerr are two of the Liberal Democrats' parliamentary candidates for the East Midlands, both in those Labour-held marginal seats, Jason for Ashfield and Lucy for Derby North. First of all, Lucy, has this coalition basically wrecked your chances in Derby North?
It's not wrecked them, but we do know from past experience that if you've been in government, you're likely to do less well next time. And from experience from Europe is that the junior partner in a coalition is likely to do less well.
Should Nick Clegg still be leading your party, and will his photograph be on your election literature?
I don't know about the photographs, but I have no qualms about him continuing to lead into the election. He's delivered an enormous amount, not just for the party, but for the country. We've got a fairer society, and we've got a stronger economy now, and it wouldn't have happened without us being there in government.
Okay, so it's a big message. Jason, Nick Clegg was telling me in my interview last week that it was time for Liberal Democrats to get into the saddle in the East Midlands and actually take the fight to those Labour-held margins.
Look, John, you know, in places like Ashfield, we've never been out of the saddle. That's why we won more councillors at the counties than Labour did last time, and that's why we still run flagship councils like Hinckley and Bosworth, Oadby and Wigston. The Lib Dems are a fighting force in the East Midlands, and we're to be reckoned with.
So what do Liberal Democrats stand for these days, especially on green policies? Let's just have a reminder of what Nick Clegg told me about fracking for shale gas in the East Midlands.
I don't think we should sort of turn our nose up at a whole new industry or technology. If we'd done that in the past, we've never had railways or mobile phone networks. So, I mean, new infrastructure happens from time to time, but it needs to be done carefully and not in a sort of, cavalier slapdash way. And that's why I'm very proud of the fact that we've probably got the tightest regulation anywhere in the world to make sure that fracking, where it takes place in an environmentally sustainable way.
Now, Jason, shale gas is hardly a carbon-free, sustainable source of energy. So what's happened to those green credentials?
But I think we've got green credentials to be proud of. We've done more things than any other government before. But let's face it, the stuff that we need to talk about is not sexy in politics terms, but it's essential. And that's why I'm on the record a number of times saying fracking is not the way forward. We need a sustainable energy source where we can be world leaders in innovative technologies, and that they are right for our economy and they're right for the East Midlands.
Isn't one of the problems you've got, the Liberal Democrats are going to be seen as the party of austerity?
We're getting us out of austerity. We're strengthening our economy, and we're getting people back into work.
Back into work, Jason?
Well, I just think that's not true, that we're the party of austerity. All parties have said they've got to do different things with the economy, but we would borrow less than Labour and we would cut less than the Tories. People need the Liberal Democrats at the heart of government, so we do have a stronger economy and a fairer society. Only we can be trusted to do that.
Okay, Jason Zadrozny and Lucy Kerr, thank you very much indeed. And Mari, later at this conference today, well, the Liberal Democrats will be debating those policy areas which they hope will shape some of the ideas in their election manifesto. Public services in at number one, the railways, the schools and the NHS.
Thanks, John. Well, two Liberal Democrats from the East Midlands sounding in reasonably good heart there. Lee, and maybe they have a point. Maybe people in marginal seats like North East Derbyshire, which you'll be fighting, are ready for a change from the old Conservative Labour thing.
I'm not sure they're ready for a change to the Liberal Democrats. I struggle to find Liberal Democrats when I'm knocking on doors. The problem with the Liberal Democrats is that the people who voted for them 4 years ago don't believe what they say anymore. And you have an example just there where a Liberal Democrat candidate disagreed with his leader. I mean, what I would say to Liberals in North East Derbyshire and East Midlands is there is other ways, and there are ways where you can be clear about what's actually going to be delivered in the next 5 years.
Catherine, as you heard there, Nick Clegg wants his activists to get back in the saddle and fight for seats in the East Midlands. That could cause you more challenges in Erewash?
Well, I think that a lot of what Nick Clegg is saying, like the party, is trying to distance themselves from the Conservatives. And I think there'll probably be a lot of headlines over the next 6 months with the two parties falling out, because they want people to forget that the Tories have only been able to do what they have done with Lib Dem MPs voting for them, voting for the bedroom tax, voting in order to treble tuition fees, and voting to give millionaires a tax cut.
Lee?
Well, one of the few things I give the Liberal Democrats credit for over the last 4 years is actually being willing to take some tough decisions, which the Labour Party showed at its conference 2 weeks ago that it was completely unwilling to do, forgetting about immigration in the leader's speech, forgetting to talk about the deficit with Ed Miliband. The point about the Liberal Democrats is people don't believe them anymore, but that shouldn't be a reason for their voters to not actually still go out and vote, because there are alternatives, and what I think we would agree on is we may disagree on many policies, but actually we do believe that the country will be better with our policies that are implemented, whatever yours might be.
Well, do you agree, for a start?
Well, I think one of the things I took the greatest issue with what Lucy said was that we're living in a fairer society today. It's because of Lib Dems supporting the Conservatives that we have working people relying on food banks. It is not a fairer country today. I think it will be under Labour.
And Lee, the Lib Dems crediting themselves with a turnaround in the economy. Danny Alexander, the Chief Secretary to the Treasury, is saying today it just wouldn't have happened without them.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's slightly delusional, but we'll leave the Liberal Democrats to their own devices on that one. The blunt reality is that the only reason that we've got out of the largest peacetime deficit in this country, that we've made huge progress on ensuring that we sort our country out for the future, is because Conservative policies and Conservative values of hard work, of aspiration, of personal responsibility are the things which are at the forefront of this government.
But Lee, we have had the slowest recovery in history. So I think that if the Lib Dems are trying to distance themselves from the Conservatives, which they clearly are, and I think that the Conservatives probably will try and distance themselves from the Lib Dems as well. The reality is it is a very slow recovery. If we're going to speed it up, we need proper growth. That's not happening under this government.
There's absolutely no doubt that we've had very tough times. We've had very tough times because of the state of the economy 4 years ago, but 1.8 million jobs, 1.8 million apprenticeships, 800,000 less people on benefits. These are all statistics, but importantly, when I go around my constituency in North East Derbyshire, you can see the recovery, you can see the green shoots.
But surely people you're talking to, when you're talking to them as much as certainly I am in Erewash, they are not feeling the benefit of any recovery. They are feeling much, much harder off. And that's why we need some much clearer policies about getting money back in their pockets so they can spend it in our town centres and they can make sure that they are feeling a economic recovery as well.
And I look forward to when the Labour Party start putting some coherent ones through. But what people are telling me in North East Derbyshire, which may be different to in Ilkeston, when I talk to people in Clay Cross, is actually they recognise we had to go through some pain. Nobody wants to do that, but we had to go through some pain. But they are now starting to see that jobs are coming back. You look at Bombardier, you look at other employers in the county.
But it's what kind of jobs? Are they stable jobs that pay people properly? Unfortunately, no, they're not.
OK, well, we'll leave that one there.